Min-ho Kim had spent 11 years sitting alone in the corner penthouse of his cold Atlanta high-rise every Christmas Eve. No lights, no tree, no family, no warmth, only silence, broken by the distant hum of the city he ruled from the shadows. He never expected anything different. Men like him didn't receive miracles, they buried them. But this year, a sound shattered the night. A hesitant knock, soft, uneven, almost scared. Min-ho's attention snapped toward the door. No one ever came here, no one dared. His men were all gone for the holiday, scattered across the city with their families. Anyone who knocked tonight was either incredibly stupid or in desperate trouble. Another knock, then a small voice. "Mommy, I'm cold." A child. Min-ho approached the door slowly, hand resting near the knife tucked beneath his white shirt, 4 buttons undone, revealing the elegant blackwork phoenix tattoo rising along his neck. His pulse tightened as he opened the door, and there they stood, a black woman with warm brown skin, natural curls frizzed by winter rain, holding a shivering little girl with big frightened eyes. I'm sorry," the woman whispered. We didn't know where else to go." For the first time in years, something cracked inside Min-ho. Hope. Real, painful hope. The hallway lights flickered as the winter wind howled against the top-floor windows, but Min-ho didn't flinch. He studied the woman and child standing on his threshold as if they were a puzzle he'd never been trained to solve. The woman clutched her daughter tighter, her arms trembling from cold and fear. Her jacket was too thin for the December storm outside. Her curls were damp, tiny droplets clinging to the ends. Her eyes, deep, warm, and exhausted, lifted slowly to meet his. "I'm sorry," she repeated, her voice barely above a whisper. We saw the light under your door. I thought maybe, I don't know. I shouldn't have knocked, I'm sorry." Min-ho didn't move. For a long moment, none of them breathed. The child in her arms sniffled. "Mommy, my toes hurt." The woman flinched as if stabbed. "I know, baby, I know. We'll go. I shouldn't have bothered him." She turned away. Something primal surged inside Min-ho, sharp, unbidden, instinctive. "Stop!" His voice cut through the hallway like steel. She froze instantly. Everyone did, even the air. He wasn't sure why he'd spoken. He never involved himself in strangers' problems. He didn't save people. He didn't comfort them. He didn't even let them get close. But as he watched the woman trembling beneath flickering light, her daughter bundled in thin fabric, something inside him refused to let them walk back into the freezing rain. "Turn around," he said quietly. She hesitated, then faced him again. Her eyes glistened with humiliation, fear, and gratitude all at once. He stepped aside, opening the door. "Come in." "But both of you," he added, voice low, controlled, immovable. The little girl lifted her head from her mother's shoulder and looked at him properly for the first time. Big, bright, curious eyes. She seemed too tired to be afraid of him. The woman slowly crossed the threshold, each step cautious. Min-ho closed the door behind them, sealing out the cold storm and sealing in a silence thick with tension. His penthouse was dimly lit. Only the soft glow of recessed lights and the faint amber of a single lamp near the window. It wasn't decorated for Christmas. Not even a wreath. Nothing to suggest the holiday meant anything to him. The little girl looked around, wide-eyed. "It's so big." The woman gently hushed her. "Liz, sweetheart, don't touch anything." Min-ho studied them quietly. He wasn't sure what to make of the warmth that began pooling in his chest, unsettling and unfamiliar. "Sit." He gestured toward the sofa, sleek black leather that rarely saw use. The woman hesitated. "We don't want to impose." It wasn't a request. A soft gasp escaped her, but she obeyed. She lowered her daughter onto the couch, then sat beside her, still keeping a protective arm wrapped around the girl's shoulders. Min-ho walked to the kitchen without another word. His movements were precise, intentional, almost too calm for the situation. The woman watched him like one might watch a lion pacing behind glass. Beautiful, dangerous, unpredictable. He returned with 2 blankets, luxury cashmere, thick and warm, and placed them gently over the mother and child. The little girl's eyes widened. "It's so soft," she whispered. The woman swallowed hard, blinking. "Thank you." Min-ho didn't respond. He wasn't used to gratitude. He didn't know what to do with it. He knelt in front of the child, surprising both of them. "What's your name?" The girl studied him for a moment, then answered simply, "Liz." "Liz," he repeated, his voice softer than before. Are your toes still hurting? She nodded. Minho stood and disappeared again, returning with a pair of thick wool socks. Men's, but warm enough for now. He held them out. Liz looked at her mother for permission. The woman gave a small nod. "It's okay, baby. Say thank you." "Thank you," Liz whispered. Minho turned his gaze to the woman. "Your turn. What's your name?" "Lara," she answered quietly. "Lara Thompson. And what are you doing knocking on doors at midnight during a storm with a child?" Her chest tightened. Shame flickered across her face, but she lifted her chin slightly. She wasn't weak, just desperate. "We were staying at a shelter. They close early for Christmas Eve. We missed curfew because the bus was delayed. They wouldn't let us back in. And you have no family here?" "No." A pause. I left them, that's all." Her voice broke on the last word, and she looked away, blinking fast. Minho felt something twist in his stomach. He despised the feeling, this tug toward compassion he had spent years burying, but he couldn't ignore it now. He moved to the opposite end of the sofa, leaning against the armrest. His shirt shifted with the motion, revealing more of the elegant blackwork phoenix tattoo along his neck. Lara noticed. Her eyes lingered longer than she meant them to, tracing the clean lines and the strength in his shoulders. He pretended not to notice. "What about the child's father?" he asked. Her jaw tightened, and she straightened. "Gone. Years ago." That was all she gave, yet everything she needed to. Liz climbed into Lara's lap, her small hands gripping her mother's jacket. The girl's eyelids drooped, exhaustion winning the battle. Lara stroked her hair gently, humming under her breath. Something soft and aching passed through her features. Motherhood, sacrifice, love. Minho felt all of it. He cleared his throat. "You can stay here tonight." Lara's head snapped up. "What? No, we can't." "You can," he said firmly. "And you will. Your daughter needs warmth, a bed, food, rest. You're not taking her back out into a storm." Her mouth parted, disbelief etched across her face. "Why are you doing this?" she asked, voice trembling. "You don't know us." "No," he replied, "but I'm not blind." Her eyes filled again, but she blinked the tears away stubbornly. He stood. "Come." He led them down the hallway. Liz lifted her head sleepily as they entered a guest room. Luxurious, warm lighting, a plush, king-sized bed, clean linens that smelled faintly of cedar and eucalyptus. Lara froze at the doorway. "We can't sleep in this. It's too much." "It's a room," Minho said simply. "You need one." Liz slid off the couch blanket and waddled slowly toward the bed, touching its softness with wide eyes. "Mummy, it feels like clouds." Lara exhaled shakily. She looked up at Minho, her voice barely audible. "Thank you, truly." His chest tightened. "I'll bring food." She smiled faintly. Warm, gentle, grateful, and it hit him harder than he expected. As he turned to leave, her voice followed him softly. This is the first warm place Liz has slept in weeks." He paused. He didn't turn around, but something in his expression shifted. Pain buried deep, flickering for a moment, before he forced it away. "Rest," he said finally. He walked back toward the kitchen, steps measured, controlled, but his mind was anything but calm. What was he doing? He didn't take people in. He didn't involve himself with strangers. He certainly didn't open his door on Christmas Eve. And yet, he couldn't stop replaying Lara's eyes, Liz's tiny voice, the way they looked standing in that hallway, cold, abandoned, out of options. He felt something he hadn't felt in years. Anger. Not at them. At the world that had failed them. He placed food on a tray and carried it down the hall, but as he neared the guest room he froze. The door was slightly ajar. Inside he heard voices whispering, then a small frightened breath. "Mommy, is he going to hurt us?" Lara's soft reply broke something deep inside him. "No, baby. I think he's the first man who won't." Minho's grip tightened around the tray. He didn't realize a shadow was watching him from the living room, and that shadow was reaching slowly for a hidden gun. Minho sensed the shift in the room before he heard anything. Years of surviving ambushes, betrayals, and silent assassins had sharpened his instincts far beyond normal human limits. Something was wrong. Terribly wrong. The air in the penthouse had changed, just enough for his muscles to tighten, his breath to still. A presence behind him. Someone was in his home, quietly, intentionally, watching. He didn't turn his head, didn't tense visibly, didn't give away a single tell. Instead he exhaled slowly and continued toward the guest room. The tray balanced calmly in his hands. Inside, he heard Lara's voice soothing Liz, the gentle murmur grounding him even as danger crept closer. "Mommy's here, baby. You're safe." Safe. He would make damn sure that stayed true. The reflection in the hallway mirror gave him a sliver of information. A dark figure, barely a shadow, moving toward him with predatory patience. A gun in hand, silenced, professional. His own man. An enemy. A traitor. It didn't matter. Anyone pointing a weapon toward the mother and child under his roof had made the last mistake of their life. Minho shifted subtly, turning the tray so that its reflection in the mirror distorted his line of sight. He calculated the distance, the angle, the speed. Then, a click. Safety off. Minho moved. Fast as a striking blade, he spun, using the tray as both distraction and shield. The metal platter slammed into the attacker's wrist, knocking the gun sideways just as a muffled shot fired. Pff! The bullet embedded harmlessly in the far wall. The intruder cursed and swung the gun back, but Minho was already on him. He grabbed the attacker's arm, twisting it sharply, until bone cracked with a sickening snap. The man screamed, dropping the weapon. It clattered across the floor. Before the intruder could recover, Minho slammed him into the wall, forearm pressing into his throat. His expression didn't change, but his eyes, dark, sharp, lethal, were colder than ice. "Who sent you?" Minho asked, voice low and deadly calm. The man struggled, gasping. Bek Sung-ho." Minho's jaw tightened. Bek Sung-ho, a rival Mafia lieutenant with delusions of grandeur, always looking for a moment of weakness. He had chosen the wrong night. "And you entered my home," Minho murmured, tightening the pressure on the man's throat. Knowing a child was inside, the intruder choked, face reddening. "Orders. I had no choice. There is always a choice." Minho's grip tightened. A soft gasp behind him made him stop. He turned. Lara stood frozen in the doorway of the guest room. Her hair was still damp, framing her face. Liz clung to her leg, eyes wide, trembling. Lara's breath hitched as she took in the sight. The gun on the floor, the stranger pinned against the wall, Minho's lethal composure. She should have been terrified of him. Most people were. But instead, her eyes held something else. Recognition, understanding, and something like trust, warring with fear. "Lara," Minho said softly, still holding the attacker with one hand. "Go inside. Close the door. I'll take care of this." She didn't move. Not at first. Her gaze flicked to the intruder. "Is he going to hurt you?" she whispered. The attacker let out a strangled laugh. "Him? Hurt? Lady, you—" Minho slammed him against the wall again. The man bit off a cry. Lara flinched, but she didn't look away. She looked at Minho, and she nodded. "Come on, baby," she whispered, urging Liz back into the room. "Come inside, Minho's got it." The little girl hesitated, peeking over her mother's arm at the scene. "Is he a superhero?" Lara froze. Minho blinked. The attacker stared, and for the first time in years, something like warmth tugged at the corner of Minho's mouth. "No," he said quietly, "but I'll keep you safe." Liz nodded solemnly, as if making an important decision. "Okay." Lara guided her back inside, closing the door. As soon as the latch clicked, Minho's expression hardened into steel again. The attacker swallowed. You don't hurt women and kids. I heard rumors, but you broke into my home." His voice was emotionless. "And you did it while a child was here." He struck, swift and final. The attacker collapsed to the ground, unconscious but alive. Minho wasn't done. He grabbed the man's gun, emptied the magazine with practiced efficiency, then tossed the weapon aside and dragged the intruder by his collar toward the private elevator. He pressed his thumb to a hidden biometric panel. A soft beep indicated access granted. The elevator opened. He pushed the man inside. When the attacker groaned, Minho's boot pressed lightly against his chest. A silent warning. "You're going to wake up in the hands of my men," Minho said. "They will ask you every question I don't have time for, and you will answer." The elevator doors slid shut. Silence swept through the penthouse. Only then did Minho allow himself to return to the guest room. His footsteps were quiet, controlled, as if he were trying not to startle them. When he opened the door, he found Lara sitting on the edge of the bed with Liz in her lap. The girl was wrapped in blankets, wide-eyed but calmer. Lara, however, looked shaken. Her eyes searched his face. "Are you hurt?" she whispered. "No." She exhaled in relief, but her hands still trembled. She pulled Liz closer. Is he gone?" Yes. She hesitated, then asked the question she feared the most. Are we safe here? Really? Minho looked at her. Really looked. Her eyes were hopeful but terrified, brave but breaking. She would fight the world alone if she had to. She already had. You're safer here than anywhere else in this city, he said quietly. No one will touch you, or your daughter. The weight of his words settled over them. Lara swallowed, tears pooling again but not falling. Why did he come here? She asked softly. Did we bring danger to your home? No, Minho said firmly. The danger was mine. You walked into it. That makes it my responsibility. Lara's breath caught. Responsibility. Protection. A man claiming them, not as possessions, but as people who mattered. I don't want to be a burden, she whispered. You're not. Her eyes closed for a moment as if absorbing the truth in his tone. Liz tugged at her sleeve. Mommy, can he stay? I'm scared. Minho stilled. Lara hesitated, then looked up at him. Really looked. Her voice soft, vulnerable, and impossibly brave. Would you stay with us until she falls asleep? A simple request, but one no one had ever asked of him. And for the first time in a very long time, Minho allowed himself to say the truth. Yes. He stepped into the room and sat in the chair beside the bed. Liz reached a tiny hand toward him. He let her take one of his fingers. Her small grip was warm, human, real. Lara watched the scene with a look that made his heartbeat tighten in ways he didn't understand. He remained silent while Liz drifted off, her breathing softening, her lashes fluttering closed. Only when the child finally slept did Lara speak again, her voice barely above a whisper. Minho, thank you for keeping us safe. Before he could answer, a sharp vibration buzzed in his pocket. He checked the screen. A single message from his second-in-command. Boss, we have a problem. Beck isn't just probing, he's coming for war. Minho looked up at the sleeping child, at Lara, at the warmth they had brought into a cold life, and he knew. War was the last thing they could survive. Morning arrived quietly in the penthouse, soft winter light slipping through the sheer curtains. Snow dusted the windows, thin delicate flakes drifting across the skyline. The storm had settled, but inside Minho's chest, a different kind of storm churned. He barely slept. He stayed in the chair beside the bed most of the night, watching over Lara and Liz. Liz had sprawled across the pillows, the blankets tangled around her small legs. Lara had eventually fallen asleep, sitting upright, her head tilted against the padded headboard, curls cascading across her cheek. Peaceful. Too peaceful for the danger approaching. As dawn touched the room, Liz stirred first. She blinked sleepily, saw Minho still sitting there, and offered him a soft, morning smile. Hi. He felt something warm flicker in his chest. Good morning. She rubbed her eyes. Are we still safe? Yes, he said simply. You're safe. Lara stirred next, her eyes opening slowly. For a moment, she looked confused. Then the memories returned. Her gaze found Minho, still seated where she had asked him to stay. You didn't sleep, she whispered. I was resting my eyes. She almost smiled. You didn't rest anything. He didn't respond. He didn't know how. Liz scooted to the edge of the bed. Do you have breakfast? Mommy makes the best pancakes, but we don't got the stuff anymore. Lara's face flushed with embarrassment. Liz, it's okay, Minho said, rising to his feet. I'll make something. Lara blinked. You cook? He paused. I can follow basic instructions. Liz giggled. He doesn't know how to cook. Come, Minho said, ignoring the child's teasing. The three of them walked to the kitchen, a space of sleek stone counters, stainless steel appliances, and untouched utensils. Minho opened the fridge. Everything was fresh, organized, perfectly stocked, and completely unfamiliar to him in a practical sense. Lara stepped forward, peering inside with cautious courtesy. If you have eggs and flour, I can make something simple. Minho stepped aside immediately. Use anything you need. Lara moved through the kitchen with quiet confidence. She tied her damp curls into a loose bun, rolled up her sleeves, and began mixing ingredients. Liz perched on a high stool, swinging her legs. Minho leaned against the counter, arms crossed, watching them with a strange tightness in his chest. This, warmth in his kitchen, gentle laughter, the smell of batter, was foreign to him. He couldn't remember the last time he'd seen a morning like this. Mommy, Liz whispered loudly, how do you flip pancakes like a ninja? Lara laughed softly. I'm not a ninja, baby. I'm just a mom who's made these a lot. You're a little like a ninja, Minho said quietly. Both mother and daughter looked at him, surprised. His ears warmed. He cleared his throat, looking away. Lara hid a small smile. Breakfast ended up simple: pancakes, eggs, and fruit, but the smell filled the penthouse with a comforting familiarity it had never known. Liz devoured hers happily. Lara ate slowly, savoring every bite as if she wasn't used to having enough. Minho watched them without touching his own plate. "You should eat," Lara said gently. "You barely slept. You need energy." He looked at her, really looked, and then obeyed. She smiled at that, soft and almost shy, but the warmth of the moment fractured when his phone buzzed again. This time he stepped away from the table before answering. "Talk," he said quietly. His lieutenant's voice filled his ear. "Boss, Bayek's men have been spotted 3 blocks from your building. Small groups. No weapons displayed yet." Minho's jaw tightened. "He's testing my response time." "That's not all. We intercepted a message." "What message?" A pause. "They're looking for the woman and kid. He thinks they saw something, or that you're protecting them for a reason." Minho's stomach hardened like steel. Beck had already noticed them. He ended the call and returned to the table, but he wasn't the same. Lara noticed instantly. Her fork paused mid-air. "What happened?" "You and Liz can't stay here," Minho said, voice low and controlled. "It's not safe anymore." Liz stiffened. "Did we do something wrong?" "No." He softened his voice. "You did nothing wrong." Lara stood slowly. "Then why do we have to leave?" "Because someone dangerous is looking for you." Her eyes widened. Fear shadowed her expression. But you said—" "I know what I said," he interrupted quietly. "And I meant it. But that was before Beck decided to involve you." Liz slid off her chair and clutched Lara's sleeve. "Mommy, I don't want to go. It's warm here." Lara swallowed hard. She gathered her daughter into her arms, hugging her tight. Then she looked up at Minho, voice steady despite the tremor underneath. "You said we'd be safe with you, that no one would touch us." He closed his eyes briefly. "I will protect you," he said, "but not here. This place is compromised. I have a safe house outside the city. No one but my inner circle knows its location." Lara hesitated. "How far is it?" "An hour." "What kind of place is it?" "A cabin, remote, secure, stocked with supplies." Lara exchanged a glance with her daughter. Liz clung to her, face hidden against Lara's stomach. "What if—" Lara's voice softened. "What if we don't want to go with your men? Can we go with you?" Minho's chest tightened. He hadn't expected that question. Not from her. "You trust me that much?" he whispered. Lara lifted her chin, eyes shining with something he didn't recognize at first. Courage wrapped in fear. "You kept your word last night. You protected my daughter. And when we were scared, you stayed. You didn't leave." Her voice cracked. "That's more than anyone else has done in years." The words hit him deeper than any blade could. Minho stepped closer, his voice low. "If you come with me, you don't leave my side. Understood?" Lara nodded. "Understood." Liz peeked up. "Are you coming too?" "Yes." "Then I'm not scared," she whispered. Minho swallowed hard. "Gather your things," he said. "We leave in 10 minutes." Lara nodded and led Liz to the room. As soon as they left, Minho opened a hidden panel beneath the kitchen counter. A biometric scanner lit up. He pressed his palm against it, and the cabinet slid open, revealing a matte black duffel bag filled with weapons and encrypted devices. He chose 2 pistols, extra magazines, a tactical knife, and a burner phone. Then he layered on a thicker coat, buttoning it only halfway so the phoenix tattoo remained partially visible. His hands moved with cold precision, but his mind was anything but calm. Lara and Liz, a mother and child who had walked into his life by accident, or fate, and now were targets in a war they didn't understand. He wouldn't let Beck get near them. He wouldn't let anyone get near them. When Lara returned with Liz and the small bundle of clothes they owned, Minho checked the hallway cameras again. Bayek's men were closer. Too close. He grabbed Lara's hand. Firm, grounding, unexpected. "Stay behind me. Don't let go." Her breath caught, but she didn't resist. Liz held her mother's free hand, trust glowing in her tired eyes. They reached the private elevator. The doors slid open silently, but as Minho stepped inside, his phone vibrated again. A single message from his lieutenant. "Boss, Beck knows about the safe house. Don't go there." Minho froze. Lara watched him, panic rising in her face. "What does that mean?" "It means," he said slowly, eyes turning dark and sharp as obsidian, "Beck isn't just looking for me. He turned toward the hallway cameras again. And he's not just looking for you. A new alert pinged on the screen. Several armed figures entered the building lobby. Minho's voice dropped to a deadly whisper. He's coming here. The elevator doors slid shut before Minho even touched the button. He yanked Lara and Liz back into the hallway, his hand gripping Lara's wrist firmly, but not painfully. His heart slammed once, hard, before his breathing steadied into lethal calm. Stay behind me, he ordered, voice like tempered steel. Lara pulled Liz close. Minho, what's happening? He checked the surveillance panel again. The lobby camera showed 6 armed men entering the building. No hesitation, no attempt to hide their weapons. A direct assault. Beck wanted chaos, fear, blood, but he also wanted something else, leverage. A mother and her child under Minho's protection were the perfect target. He's here for you, Minho said quietly. Which means he wants to hurt me, and he thinks taking you will do it. Lara's breath trembled. Why us? Because you matter. Because last night changed something in me. Because I care. I'll explain later, Minho said. Right now we move. He grabbed the duffel bag from earlier and slung it over his shoulder. Gunfire cracked faintly through the building's floors, controlled, distant, but unmistakable. Liz whimpered, covering her ears. Lara knelt and cupped her daughter's cheeks. Look at me, baby, look at Mommy. Liz sniffled, tears filling her eyes. I'm scared. Lara swallowed hard, her voice steady, even as her hands shook. I know, but we're staying with Minho. He's going to get us out. The little girl nodded, trusting them both without question. Minho felt that weight settle inside him, heavy, anchoring, transforming. He had protected people before, but never like this. Never, personally. A crash echoed in the stairwell. They were coming up. He guided the two into a narrow service corridor behind a false wall, hidden, unmarked, accessible only through a biometric panel disguised as a maintenance light. The wall slid shut behind them, sealing them in darkness, until the soft glow strips along the floor lit up. This way, Minho said, leading them deeper. Lara kept close, one hand on Liz, the other brushing the back of Minho's coat as if contact alone kept them alive. Halfway down the tunnel, the ground rumbled. Distant footsteps, shouts. They were searching floor by floor. Minho, Lara whispered. How many men does Beck have? Too many. She stiffened. Can you fight them off? Yes. But with me and Liz here. He paused, turned, met her eyes fully. I won't let them touch you, he said. Either of you. Even if I have to kill every man Beck sends. Lara inhaled sharply, not out of fear, but something deeper. The conviction in his voice wasn't violence. It was promise, shield, oath, and it shook her. They reached a locked steel door. Minho pressed his finger to the scanner. This connects to a secondary elevator with no public access. It goes straight to the garage. The door opened. But before they stepped inside, a gunshot cracked from behind. Minho reacted instantly. He shoved Lara and Liz through the doorway and spun, gun already raised. A man emerged from the shadows of the service tunnel. Beck Sung-ho's second-in-command, Jin-soo, tall, cold-eyed, armed. I was hoping I'd find you, Jin-soo sneered. The boss wants the woman alive, the kid too, but he said you can be delivered in pieces. Minho's finger tightened on the trigger. Jin-soo fired first. The muzzle flash lit the tunnel, deafening in the narrow space. Minho ducked, pulled Lara down with him, shielding both her and Liz with his body as the bullet tore through the air above them. Liz screamed. Lara wrapped herself around her daughter protectively. Minho rose with predatory precision and fired once, clean, controlled. Jin-soo dodged, ducking behind a pipe. Another exchange. Sparks from ricocheting bullets. The air thick with dust and smoke. Minho moved like water, silent, fluid, lethal. But Jin-soo was trained too. They were evenly matched in skill, but Minho had something Jin-soo didn't. A reason, a mother, a child, a promise. Stay behind me, Minho commanded again. He pushed Lara and Liz through the second door into the private elevator, but Jin-soo lunged out from the corner, firing toward them. Minho jumped in front of the shot. The bullet grazed his shoulder. Pain exploded down his arm, warm blood soaking through his white shirt. No, Lara cried out, reaching for him. I'm fine, he growled, teeth clenched. With his uninjured hand, he fired back. One bullet, center mass. Jin-soo fell. Silence roared. Minho staggered into the elevator, pressing his hand against the wound. Blood seeped between his fingers. Lara's eyes filled with terror. "You're hurt." "It's nothing." "It's not nothing." The elevator doors slid shut, isolating them from the chaos above. Liz clung to her mother, crying softly. Lara's breathing was shaky, her hands trembling as she approached him. "Sit," she whispered. He didn't argue. He slid down the wall, jaw tight. She knelt in front of him, tearing a strip from her shirt to press against the wound. Her hands trembled, but her movements were careful, gentle. "You saved us," she whispered. "I told you I would." She looked up. Their faces were inches apart. His breath brushed her lips. Her eyes reflected everything: fear, gratitude, something deeper, something dangerous. "You can still walk?" she asked. "Yes." "Drive?" "Yes." "Fight?" He met her gaze, eyes burning. "For you both?" "Always." Her breath caught. The elevator reached the garage. The doors slid open to reveal a dim underground lot, quiet, untouched by Bayek's men. A single black SUV waited, armored, engine ready. Minho pushed himself to his feet and ushered them inside. Lara buckled Liz in the back, then slid into the passenger seat. Before Minho started the engine, Lara's hand shot out, grabbing his sleeve. "Where are we going? If the safe house isn't safe—" He looked at her. And for the first time his voice softened with something like vulnerability. "There's one place left," he said. "The only place Bayek doesn't know about. The only place no one would ever search." Lara swallowed. "Where?" The engine rumbled beneath them. Minho shifted into gear, his eyes fixed on the exit, as if he could already see danger waiting beyond it. "My childhood home," he said quietly. Lara stared at him. "What?" "It's outside the city. Abandoned. Hidden. And cursed with enough memories that no one would dare step near it." The elevator doors to the garage began to close behind them, but not fast enough. Because in the corner of the security camera feed, Lara saw movement, figures, many of them, entering the garage. "Minho," she whispered. He followed her gaze. Bayek's men were already here. He hit the gas, hard. The SUV shot forward just as several armed men burst into the garage, bullets raining against the concrete pillars. Lara shielded Liz with her arms as Minho swerved toward the exit ramp, tires screeching, bullets striking the rear armor. The SUV roared upward, straight toward daylight, and straight into a trap. The SUV exploded into the winter daylight, roaring up the concrete ramp with bullets pinging off the armored frame. Snow flurries whipped across the windshield, blurring the world into streaks of white and grey. Lara held Liz tightly in the back seat, her heart hammering as Minho swerved around a barricade of vehicles Bayek's men had arranged at the exit. "They're blocking us!" Lara cried. Minho's jaw flexed. "Hold on!" He slammed the SUV into a hard left, the wheels screaming as he navigated a sharp curve through an underground service lane that connected to the street level. Two armed men darted into view. Minho clipped one with the bumper, sending the man flying, while the other dove out of the way. Liz whimpered, "Mommy, make it stop." Lara kissed her daughter's forehead, voice trembling. "It's okay, baby. We're okay. Stay down. Stay down." Minho glanced at them in the rearview mirror. That single moment, Lara wrapped around her child, fear etched into her beautiful features, ignited something brutal inside him. He would not lose them. Not today. Not to Beck. They burst out onto a side street. The city was strangely quiet. Christmas morning had emptied the roads, leaving only drifting snow and glowing streetlights. And danger. 3 black sedans peeled around the corner behind them, engines roaring. "Minho," Lara whispered. "They're still coming. I see them." He veered across the intersection, cutting through a narrow alleyway between 2 abandoned warehouses. The SUV barely fit, scraping the walls as he forced it through. One sedan tried to follow. It slammed into the alley's entrance, crumpling like paper. 2 remained. The alley spit them out onto a back road near the highway entrance. Minho floored the gas. The SUV surged forward, tires gripping slick asphalt. "We'll lose them on the highway," he murmured. But as they reached the on-ramp, another sedan flew in from the right, blocking the path. A trap. Minho swerved violently, barely avoiding impact. Snow burst around them as the SUV skidded across a frozen patch of road. For a heartbeat, the world tilted sideways. Lara screamed, clutching Liz to her chest. Then, Minho regained control, slamming the wheel and stabilizing the vehicle with expert precision. "You're okay," he said, voice steady even though adrenaline pulsed through him. "I've got you." The blocked highway forced them back into the suburbs. Houses lined the quiet streets, Christmas decorations twinkling innocently as violence tore through the neighborhood. How does he have this many men? Lara cried. Bake's been preparing for months, Minho said through gritted teeth, waiting for an excuse to strike. And we were the excuse. His jaw tightened. No, I was. But he saw you, and knew you mattered to me. Lara's breath caught. She stared at him. Mattered. He didn't answer. He couldn't. Not now. Another sedan rammed into the SUV from behind. Liz screamed as the impact jolted her forward. Lara threw her arms around her daughter, shielding her. Minho, they're going to hit us again. I know. He scanned the road ahead. Houses, snowbanks, a narrow turn leading toward the industrial district. He took it. The SUV fishtailed but kept control. Behind them, one sedan spun out on the ice, crashing into a lamppost. The second continued the chase. Mommy, I'm scared, Liz cried. Lara held her tighter, tears streaming down her cheeks. I know, baby, just hold on, we're almost safe. Minho swallowed hard. Safe. He would get them there, even if he died doing it. He jerked the wheel, turning onto a long, deserted factory road. Abandoned buildings loomed on either side. Rusted metal, broken windows, graffiti-covered brick. The sedan followed relentlessly. Minho's eyes narrowed. Time to end this. He flicked open a compartment beneath the steering wheel and grabbed a compact firearm with his good hand. Lara saw. What are you doing? What I must. He lowered the window slightly. Icy wind blasting into the cabin. With calculated precision, he fired twice. The sedan swerved, tires screeching but didn't stop. Damn it, he muttered. Armored. Lara looked around frantically. Where do we go now? He hesitated. He didn't want to, but he had no choice. We go home. He turned sharply down a nearly invisible dirt path that cut through a field of dead winter grass. Snow blew in thin sheets across the ground. The SUV bounced violently over rocks and frozen earth. Home, Lara echoed. Your home. My father's house, he corrected. Not far. The sedan followed. The path widened, revealing a large, isolated property hidden behind overgrown trees. The remains of a traditional Korean-style home sat in the center, tile roof cracked, windows boarded, porch sagging. Snow blanketed everything, muting the world. Lara stared. You grew up here? Yes. The word held an ocean of pain. Minho parked the SUV behind the old shed, shielding it from view. He turned to them. You two go inside. Find shelter. Don't come out until I say. Lara grabbed his arm. What? No. You're outnumbered. I'm trained. You're injured. It doesn't matter. It matters to me, she snapped, voice cracking. His breath caught. For a moment, just a moment, the world stilled. Lara, he whispered. She stepped closer, her hand trembling against his chest. You saved us. You stayed with us. Let me help you. Please. His defenses splintered, but danger loomed. He pressed a hand to her cheek, a touch he didn't allow himself to linger on. Protect Liz. That's how you help me. Her eyes filled with tears. Come back to me. The words hit him harder than any bullet. Before he could respond, a gunshot cracked outside. Then another. Beck's men had arrived. Inside, Minho ordered, shoving the SUV door open. Lara grabbed Liz and ran toward the house. The child sobbed into her mother's shoulder. Snow swirled violently as the wind grew harsher, the world turning white around them. Minho stepped out of the SUV, gun in hand, blood soaking through his shirt. His breath fogged the air. His muscles burned. But his eyes, cold, dark, determined, never wavered. He saw the figures descending the hill, 6. No, 8. Armed, fast. Minho exhaled and stepped forward. Then Beck himself appeared. Tall, smirking, cruel. So it's true, Beck called out over the storm. You've gone soft, Minho, all this trouble for a woman and her little brat. Minho's grip tightened until his knuckles whitened. You made a mistake coming here. Beck laughed. No, you did. By caring. Behind Minho, inside the house, Liz whimpered. Lara held her, whispering prayers. And in that moment, Minho knew the truth. He wasn't fighting for honor. He wasn't fighting for territory. He wasn't fighting because Beck challenged his power. He was fighting for them. For the first warmth he'd felt in years. For the first hope he couldn't lose. The wind howled. Snow swirled. Beck raised his hand. Kill him. Gunfire erupted. The world returned in fragments. Warmth. A crackling fire. Soft blankets. The faint scent of pine. Then a voice. Gentle. Low. Familiar. Lara? He's waking up. Minho's eyes fluttered open. Light filled his vision. the soft glow of lanterns strung along the ceiling of his childhood home. The boards had been repaired, the windows sealed, the old hearth rebuilt. Snow drifted peacefully outside, but none of that mattered, because Lara was there, sitting beside him, her curls loose around her shoulders, eyes glassy with relief. "You're alive," she whispered, breath trembling. He tried to sit, but pain flared along his ribs. Lara pressed a careful hand to his chest. "Don't. You're still healing." "Healing?" he murmured. "How long?" "3 days," she said softly. "Your men arrived. They drove off the rest of Beck's people. We brought you inside. You scared us. Where's Liz?" A small head popped up from behind Lara's arm. "I'm here. Mommy said to let you sleep, but I wanted to see—" Lara laughed softly. "She's been checking on you every hour." Liz scrambled onto the bed, careful with his injuries, and curled against his uninjured side. "You saved us again." Minho swallowed hard, emotion tightening his throat. "I told you I would." Lara reached for his hand. He didn't pull away. For a long moment, the three of them stayed like that, breathing the same warm air, sharing the same fragile peace, wrapped in the same thin hope. Then Lara whispered, "What happens now?" Minho looked at her, at Liz, at the life that had knocked on his door on Christmas Eve and changed everything. "What happens now," he said softly, "is that you stay, as long as you want, as long as you need, with me." Lara's eyes shone, and for the first time in his life, Minho felt home.